everyone, this is Taryn with Wonderfully Made Handcrafting, and welcome back to Theology Thursday. Now, Theology Thursday is a newer series I've started on YouTube as I walk through the Westminster Shorter Catechism question by question. Now, usually I actually do a whole Bible study first and then jump into the crafty portion of the video, but since this tag is so easy, it's very delicate and feminine, but it's very easy, so I decided I could kind of work through the study as you watch me craft today. Now, I do want to mention before I start the study that this tag was primarily made with some vintage goodies mixed with some Felicity Jane ephemera from their Emily kit. I also forgot to show you that I do type up all the questions, the answers, and supporting verses on each back side of these cards. That helps me so it's written really neatly. So as I go through this in the future with my children, as I'm teaching them the Westminster Shorter Catechism, I will have that, and it'll be a huge ring of all 107 questions found in the Catechism. Okay, so enough talking about this tag, and let's jump into question number 3. Okay, so question 3 says, what do the scriptures principally teach? And then the answer is, the scriptures principally teach what man is to believe concerning God and what duty God requires of man. So obviously there are so many supporting Bible verses to this answer, but I'm going to specifically talk about 2 of them today. And the first one being John 20:30 through 31. And that one says, and many other signs truly did Jesus in the presence of his disciples, which are not written in this book. But these are written, that ye might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that believing ye might have life through his name. So obviously through this verse, we see the first part of the answer fulfilled. And that is, the scriptures principally teach what man is to believe concerning God. And through John 20, we see that we are to believe that Jesus is the Christ, that he is the Son of God, and that by believing we might have life through his name. Now we're going to work on defending the second portion of that answer, and we can defend that through Micah 6:8, which says, he hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. And we see in that verse that is our duty, that's what God requires of man, to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. Not just to walk humbly, but walk humbly with thy God. So I'll link the study book that I'm using down below for the Westminster Shorter Catechism. But this chapter talks about how the Bible doesn't necessarily teach us everything there is to know about life. It doesn't teach us the periodic table. It doesn't teach us chemical formulas. It doesn't teach us how to get onto the internet or everything there is to know about electronics. And it doesn't teach us everything about Jesus' childhood that maybe we would like to know. But it does teach us exactly what we need to know in the Christian walk. It teaches us everything that is essential for a Christian to know. A really good quote from this chapter says, for the Bible clearly teaches that everything in the universe is created. Everything is related to God, and it is this relationship to God which is the most important thing of all. Without this relationship being recognized, even the greatest scientist doesn't really understand the truth at all. In other words, when men do not begin their thinking with a recognition of the true God, they are in darkness. And because they are in darkness, they cannot really see the light that is in the world. So as I wrap up the study portion of this video, I do want to say that questions 4 through 38 of the Westminster Shorter Catechism deal with our faith and what we need to believe concerning God. And so that's where we start heading into next week. Okay, so let's catch you up on this tag. If you've seen any other of my Theology Thursday videos, you know that I've been using these acetate marquee letters and numbers to number each one of my tags. I do have the question number on the back side of each tag that I've written up on my typewriter, but this is just an element to add to each tag that keeps them consistent and cohesive. I'm assuming one day I may run out of marquee letters, but I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I grabbed out my new Curator Snippets from Holtz. I know I just want another element to kind of peek out behind those florals on the bottom left-hand corner. So I'm just kind of looking through them and seeing which one may work. Before I start talking about all the different elements on this tag, I did want to mention that the background was made from a VBS document, an antique kind of graduation paper from VBS, and I loved just the light feminine look of it, and it matched perfectly with the Felicity Jane Emily kit, and so I knew I had to use it. I also loved this oceanside picture. It has all that kind of orangey pink tones to it, and so it works perfectly together. I knew I wanted to add another texture to this tag, and so I have a little bin of all these extras that I haven't used yet, and so I was trying different ones out, but really fell in love with the look of this glassine bag scrap that I had, and I just put it behind that photo. I loved how it softened up the edges of the photo, and I ended up running that through my sewing machine a couple times on the left hand side. It'll hold those pieces together but also add a completely new texture to this tag. I'm probably that weird person that saves all of those little extras, but they are just so fun to use. So I highly suggest, if you think you can use it in the future, just keep a little bin of all those extra goodies because it just completely makes this page. I do want to add just a little bit of mixed media look to this tag, and so I grabbed my Dina Wakley gloss spray in the color olive, and I just want to add a couple little drops to this tag. I don't want to overtake the background because the background is so beautiful, so I'm just going to do a couple little flicks to the background just so it looks like it was naturally there as like age spots. Now with gloss sprays, you are supposed to let them dry naturally. Now, I'll be honest, it's really hard for me to let them dry naturally. I really just want to grab my heat tool and heat set them, but I'm trying not to. So I'm going to set that aside and start working on my mini tag. Now, this mini tag is going to go in front of my main tag and showcase that number 3 marquee. And all the rest of the elements on this tag are from the Felicity Jane Emily kit. I love how they work perfectly with this Theology Thursday tag, and I am grunging them up just a little bit so they match with the other tags. They kind of have that antique vintage vibe going on. I do prefer using my tiny attacher to attach that number 3. That just is so that I don't have any of those glue marks kind of oozing out. You could also use glossy accents that dries clear, but I find the staple just adds another texture, which I already love, so might as well just use it. I am going to make sure that I have that glassine bag ripped down exactly the way I want it to. I don't want too much poking out on the top or bottom portion of this photo, and so I'm going to just leave a little bit exposed. And then I'm going to start gluing all this down. I am using my favorite Barely Arts precision glue. I honestly barely use any other glue nowadays. It's just awesome. So if you haven't got some, go grab some for yourself. And I'm going to just start layering everything together in a cluster. I am fussing a little bit with my exposed strings from sewing this photo together. I do want to leave some hanging. I just love the look of that, but I will cut them down just a little bit so they don't get in the way and tangled up with other strings from other tags. Now I will cut that portion of the photograph off, and honestly it'll go into my bin of unused things because you never know when you need an old little piece of photograph to layer something. So always keep those little extras. After I've glued down the snippet die cut, I will actually re-add that manila reinforcer to the top of the tag, and then this tag will be complete. If you've enjoyed watching this Theology Thursday, please like and subscribe to my channel. It means so much to me. I will link everything that I can down below. Obviously, a lot of this was vintage and antique ephemera, so for that, I just suggest going to estate sales or local thrift stores. You can find a lot of fun goodies there. If you haven't yet, you can find me over on Instagram at Wonderfully Made Handcrafting, and I'll link another Theology Thursday video from last week at the end of this video. I hope you have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.